Well, hello, hello, hello. Welcome back to the Dr. Reverend Lee Pan Show. 17 and a half. More of my opinions and my beliefs. Now, I left off with you got your uh, pools set up for your fish or whatnot, your tanks or whatever you want to call them, your habitats set up for your fish. And you could actually grow some plants in the top, like I was saying, of the tank that the fish actually inhabit. And what will happen is the fish will actually feed off the bottom of the plants and they'd eat all the dead off the plants. And that would actually be their food. And in return, their waste products that they release in the water would feed the plants as well that are in the tanks with them so that they would survive in the same habitat together. But also, when you're flushing your tanks out to push fresh water back in every so often, you got to do so, or else your fish or your plants in the tank will get sick and diseased. You'll flush them out and they go into reserves and storage tanks and whatnot that'll later go down into your gardens and grow all your fruits and vegetables and whatnot to help survive. And plants and bushes and trees and flowers and bush and all that is necessary. So you need to build a whole entire ecosystem within inside the cave so that it'll recycle your carbon dioxide and methane gases and whatnot that will be coming from the other various animals in yourself back into breathable oxygen. Also, on top of that, there are these microscopic little microbitic little microscopic little organisms, or these little microbes, or whatever you want to call them, that actually inhabit caves some around the world in some places, and they put off a fluorescent blue light. And you could actually take these and introduce them into your habitat and your cave system along all the walls and everything for your pathways in between cave chambers and as well inside the chambers as well. And what they do is they recycle as well. They recycle the carbon dioxide and the methane gases and whatnot. And they produce a blue fluorescent light that you could actually use for a light version of lighting to get around, provided by a natural Mother Nature's creation or whatnot. There's many things that you can do to make your habitat accommodate you for as long as you need it, but the key ingredient is water when it comes down to everything. And as I told you, there's water everywhere, just like there's everything everywhere in the universe. I mean, this planet was seeded with weather through, they'll tell you meteorites, but it was meteorites which have some weather among many other things. But comets are made mostly of water. So you could actually seed other planets and moons or whatever you want in the same fashion. Now, when I told you previously about painting a comet, so that you create heat on one side so to move it. Well, I wasn't actually saying paint the comet a color. Painting is a military term for marking out a target, so I apologize for that. So what you're doing is you're marking out a target that you're going to target on the comet that you want to magnify the sun's heat towards so that it'll be above 500 degrees, which space is so cold is basically almost below 500 below temperatures. So you got to use a series of magnifying glasses to in a row like a laser or whatnot created by the sun, because the sun will, like much like when children take a magnifying glass and burn insects and ants and stuff up and cook them with the magnifying glass because it magnifies the sunlight. Well, in ancient times there were actually civilizations that would use this so they could burn ships and stuff that were coming to attack them, and they could actually burn them miles and miles away before they ever got to them by simply redirecting the sunlight and focusing it on their target. And this is what we're doing. We're going to redirect the sunlight with a satellite or whatnot that has a series of magnifying glasses on it, because you say if you it magnifies 10 times per magnification. So say if you got a 1 watt light that you're looking at, you run it through one magnifying glass, it's 10 times, it'd be a 10 watt. Next one, 10 times, it'd be 100. Next one, 10 times, it'd be 1,000, just on a larger scale, you see. Which will heat up the comet on one side above over 500 degrees temperature. So it's above the freezing temperatures of space. So that it creates a steam with steam power, and there is no gravity, which there's no such thing as gravity, as I told you. There's no magnetic force that's going to hold that in place, unless it's made with some kind of metal like iron or whatnot. Then it might be a little harder, but still, you only got to change the trajectory slightly. If you do it before, and plenty enough time before the object is going to impact. So say like if you take an eighth of an inch, like you're shooting a gun and the scope is off, say just a little hair, the scope's off. Well, as the bullet travels, when it comes out, say it's an eighth of an inch off, but as it travels, it could be off a couple 100 feet by the time it reaches its target. Well, that's basically what we're doing. We're adjusting the trajectory. So by the time the comet ever came close enough to the planet, it will never strike the planet. It would actually just pass by. And this is another way that we can protect our planet and whatnot from various things striking it, as it has in the past. It wreaked havoc on the planet and everything living on it at the time. But there's just so many things that we can do, and I can teach you, and that's just a simple one there. I mean, a child could figure that out. I mean, anybody that can, well, one of our children could figure it out. I don't know about yours. Your children are almost lost because of the way this society has been twisted, and your education has been held back, and your advancement of your species has been held back. You should be, like I've told you before, you're thousands of years behind where your species should be at this point in your existence. And as I've told you before, this is your sixth time around for your species basically alone, even though there's been various little changes throughout each reoccurring development of having to start over and evolve over and over again. Each time there are slight differences. You're still basically the same being as you always were. And for your body, you're basically all the same anyway, because I've told you many times before, we are all stardust of the universe. We are all angels of the universe. And no matter what shape or size or form your body may appear to be, what's important and the major key is what is inside of the box, you see. And this is your spirit, your soul, your call, your life force, your energy, whatever label you want to put on it. But it is forever. And it just keeps getting reborn back into new vessels. And you start a new life. You have to repeat. Like some religions believe that you start out as a blade of grass and work your way up through insects and people and whatnot, as I've told you before, different beings and whatnot. And if you don't learn the lessons you were supposed to learn in that lifetime, you have to repeat it until you learn the lesson that you were meant to learn. And then you go on to your next stage of enlightenment until you eventually will end up at the top where you belong. But Everything in life is connected, and everything in the universe is connected. Everything on this planet is connected. We are different, but yet all the same. And this is what you need to understand, that it is insane to kill each other because it is pointless, because you'll just keep coming back anyway. So when you could get that passed, we can finally get your race moving forward in the direction that it was meant to evolve in, and not this madness that these monsters has turned it into. So, yes, it's important. It's important that we all work together. We all need to stand up, and we all need to change. We need to reach out to each other. We need to support each other. We need to help each other. You need to realize that every being on this planet is your sisters or your brothers or your children in one form or another. All of the animals and the insects and the plants and the bushes are all connected with you and me and everything else you see. And this is what you need to understand. We are all a piece of the bigger puzzle. We are all a piece of creation, and we all belong here together, or we would not been here to begin with. Merely to say that your religion is better than another is a disgrace against your own creator, for you're saying that your creator is so faulty that there are supposedly in your eyes imperfect beings running around on the planet that supposedly your version of your creator created. So therefore your creator is insuperior and faulty as well. Or you've been lost and lied to and lost your path, and you have been strayed down into evil and worship false idols, believing that this is what good is, and it is not. Because good does not kill people. Good does not destroy the planet. The creator or creatoress or creators or whatever label you want to put on it would not destroy their own creation. So why do you think you have the right to? If a god or goddesses or gods and goddesses or whatever you want to label it did not want everybody to be here, they would not be here to begin with. And it's not your place to remove them or to keep them from walking the planet that we all share. There is no piece of land that belongs to one Pacific group. There is no water bodies that belong to a Pacific group. There is no air that belongs to a Pacific group. There is no planet, no moon, no rocks, no nothing belongs to any of you or any Pacific group. It was created for all living things to evolve on together, or it wouldn't be here. Sometimes, sometimes the mere things that are so simple are above your heads. It's like you never got a clue. You get lost in the translation. You get lost in the verses. You shape everything into what you believe it is and not what it actually says. You twist it because you've been taught this by your masters, because they twist you all the time. I want to get back to my education system, as I was saying earlier in our previous recording. In my university, we're going to go back to the old ways it used to be. You will no longer sit on your ass in a class behind a desk. In my university, there is no building that houses students in one group or classroom. In my university, we turn all the students into apprentices, and they get placed in the workforce because on-hand experience is the best teacher and knowledge that you can receive. This also helps the employers as well as the students and future employees to be, or business owners, you see, because they're getting actual on-hand experience. And I've worked in construction, and my family has been in everything that you can think of. We created this world. And the one thing that you always can tell when you're on a construction site or out on a ship or a boat, when the college kids come, it's hard to keep it afloat because everything looks good on paper, but unfortunately, that's not the way things work in real life. They come out of school all educated, supposedly on this job, and don't have the first clue of what they're doing. And who has to teach them? All the people that did it for a living to begin with, that never went to that fancy school and got a fancy degree, but yet they know everything, you see. On hand experience is the best degree you'll ever have. And it's not a piece of paper used to wipe your ass. Excuse my language. You have been led down the wrong way. Your sheeple led to the slaughter. And you need to wake up and learn and holler that you're not going to put up with this anymore. This world could be a paradise. No worries, no wants, no whys, no cries, no if and buts. If and buts was candies and nuts, it'd be Christmas every day. But instead, you just got madness and insanity in play. This monopolizing and profitizing and racketeering games of Christmas scams to put money in the big corrupted corporations' pockets for their own personal gain has to come to an end. Your savior has become a marketing tool for ghouls to profit on. like everything that they do. You're paid slaves. You think you're free, but you're not. They pay you a minimum wage, not a fair wage, and they tax it and tax it a lot. And fines and fees and interest and late fees and penalties and whatnot. By the time it's all done, you got crumbs. You'd be the same as a slave because you are a slave anyway. You're a minimum wage slave. No, for all you around the country, you need to go out to your rural areas and villages and small towns and help these people get things more accommodating for a being to exist in. Teach them how to plant gardens. Teach them how to put in water wheels, old-fashioned water turbines and whatnot into the water that'll pump water irrigation system into the gardens and up to their villages for water to drink and bathing water and whatnot. There's a lot of things that you can do with the things that are surrounded around you, but you just got to get creative. You do not need machinery because the force of the planet is a machine, you see. The water that flows to the river turns a wheel that has water paddles and buckets that carry water, and a lever as it goes around flips the bucket and dumps it down into a reservoir that's gravity fed to your irrigation system. Or you could put a pump in there, and it doesn't have to be an expensive pump. You can make one out of the materials you have. You can make them out of wood, and you live in a jungle. You got plenty of wood. You just gotta use your head, and you can make it better. And that's all it is. Use the wood instead. Everybody overthinks everything. They think they need machinery to do everything for them. And this is the problem with another problem. Well, not the only problem, but this is one of the problems with your civilization today. You're getting weaker and weaker the more knowledge that you have because you're using it in a wrong way. You should never put mechanical things in control of things that need to be done by your vessel to keep it healthy. When I was younger, I'd work 18, 20 hours a day. Sometimes I'd work days and days without sleep. And I worked in a factory, as I said before. I'd work double shifts all week long, and on the weekends I'd pull triple. And my boss got in trouble because of labor laws, even though I was the one requesting it and capable of doing it. And this is not the way our society should be based. People should be based on what they can do and performance and place properly into the job um, market or whatnot. You know, the Native Americans, what we do is, and the Celts and many of us, what we do as we watch as our children grow. You can see who the natural leaders are because all the other ones will follow the natural leader. So that's the one you want to hone into the leading skills. Other ones you'll see that they care for the other children around them, or they'll care for the animals. So you know that they're going to be good at medicine or veterinarian or whatnot. If you observe your children as you are teaching them and see what their natural gifts are and hone those natural gifts and then put them into an apprenticeship under that same situation that they can thrive in, then your civilization will become the greatest thing that you can imagine. Because this is how this is how things are done. You don't make a bricklayer into a doctor, or a doctor into a carpenter of wood, or a blacksmith. And you don't make a law enforcement agent into a doctor, or you don't make a beauty queen judge into a leader. You should never judge your leaders by the size of their wallets and their reputation as being a popular figure. You should choose your leaders and judge them by the qualities that they possess to be a leader to begin with, and build upon that, because a strong foundation, as I have told you in the past, is the number one thing you need to build anything on. No matter if it's a building, a leader, a doctor, a veterinarian, a warrior, or a king, or a high king, or a high priest. You build a house, you build it on top of a strong foundation. As I told you before, even lies are built on foundations of truth. Everything must have a strong foundation. That's why I'm telling you, quit digging all these holes in your planet and quit digging all the stuff out of our planet, because you're making our foundation weak. And by not doing jobs yourself and letting robots and computers and everything else do the work for you, you're making yourselves weak and sick and riddled full of diseases and dying, because they're poisoning you with these GMOs and synthetic products and abominations that they create in their Frankenstein labs, like growing meat on a hook without a brain, kept alive artificially and fed chemicals, synthetic chemicals instead of grain. And then you wonder why you get all these cancers and everything. Things are not that hard to see if you just want to open up your eyes and see it. It's there, it's plain. You got to pay attention, you got to learn, you got to read, you got to investigate, you got to research, you got to dig for the truth, you got to rise up and become more than what you are. Knowledge is power. Knowledge is everything. And there's no such thing as good or bad knowledge. Only good or bad people that use the knowledge. So I do not believe in forbidden knowledge. For all knowledge must be learnt and passed on, so others can learn from our past mistakes. this is the way it should be, you see. I know. I know a lot of you out there are probably just ranting and raving. But your one-sided opinion, and like I've told all of you, I recognize every religion as being a part of my own root religion, because mine was the foundation that your civilization was created upon, that your mere existence was created upon in the first place. Because my species is as ancient gets. And that's okay. And I want you to understand it. I love every one of you. I've told you that a billion times. We have always loved you. We took your women for wives and had hybrid children, which I am a part of. Me and most all of my family. Not all of us, but every branch has chosen select few to carry on our bloodline of negative blood, you see. And it could even skip generations for thousands and hundreds of thousands or even millions of years, because as if I told you before, everything will eventually come back around and be reborn into your bloodline. Your genetic traits are in your DNA code, even though sometimes they may be hidden. They will come back and they will come out again. And then it'll carry on again. So it's time for you to understand, as I've told you before a million times, and I'll tell you again. Stop killing each other and work together and create a better world for everyone. We don't need homeless. We don't need poor. We don't need welfare. We don't need Social Security, because in my plan, you start getting a paycheck from the time you turn 18 years old until the time you drop dead, if you drop dead. So, no worries about having to fight for money that you paid into a system all your life that don't want to give it back, or try to find reasons to put you in jail or prison or some other excuse to not give it back to you because they've already put it in their own pockets. Just like when companies overcharge you and they wait prolonged time to give you your money back, and they're building interest on it while it sits in their bank. So they're making money on holding your money up. Just like a bank uses your money to loan other people to make interest on, so they make a profit on using your money, and you're poor, trying to save and scrape for a retirement plan. It's not that hard if you think about what I'm saying and you do a little research. You'll see for yourself. It's out there to be found, because I'm not the only one. We've been here since the beginning. And we will always be here. even way past your end of your existence, we will still be here. We are forever. And you could be too, if you'd get a clue and figure out what's true and what's a lie. And the lie is why you die, because you're just a puppet on a string. And your master makes you sing. And you do a little jig and a dance and a thing. So, time to cut that string, don't you think? Time to cut that apron. String. Time to get out of the bird nest. Time to dig your way out of that hole that you've been living in and hiding in your whole entire life. And stand up for yourselves. And tell them this ain't right. And we're ready to fight for our rights. Or bend over and throw some more KY jelly on your ass, because that's about all you're gonna get. You don't listen to what I'm telling you. You're screwed again. And you'll be screwed to the end. Business owners, you small party stores, mom and pop stores, mom and pop factories, you small farmers, what ones that are left. You need to band together, as I've said before, and you need to help each other buy bulk so you can save money so you can move forward. Go get the licensing and the training to become butchers and open your own meat markets and sell your own meat that you grow, that you raise. Go learn and open a farmers market, because you don't have to go to a college to learn how to run a business. You just got to have the want to run a business and go get the licenses to do it, and then some research, because you can get knowledge out of a book without sitting in a class in front of some teachers sitting on their ass getting paid to twiddle their thumbs and babysit you. You could do that on your own and open your own business and start it. I started my first business when I was young. I was real young. I was I was always a business person and whatnot throughout, traded and everything my whole entire life. Even when I was a kid, I did that. My first business when I was about 21, 22, I think it was. Well, didn't need no fancy degrees, just needed the will to work, you see. And just go out and get her done. Make that money, because that's what your society is based on. So, and everybody else can do the same. And if you gather together and make yourselves like a farmers organization and small business organization or whatnot, and gather together and put your money together, and each of you pay the portion of what you're ordering and have the bigger shipments coming in, like I've told you before, so you can save the money. Like soda or pop. Some people call it pop, some people call it soda, some people call it soda pop. Interesting story about that, I'll tell you later. But you put your money together, you could buy 50 semi loads like these major food chains do. And you could compete and sell it at the same prices as they sell it. And this is the way it should be. Everybody should pay the same price, no matter if you're the small business person or a big business person. And in my plan, this is the way it's going to be. Every product has a cap on what it can be sold for to the retailer, and it has a cap on what it can be sold to the consumer, and it has a cap on what it could be sold to from the farmer to the company or whatnot. But you should do your own, like I said. But everything has caps, so this way everybody gets a fair share. And this is going to be on a global scale, just like your pay scale is on a global scale. So it's going to be done so nobody can steal anymore. Nobody can skim off the top. Nobody can hack into my system because it's impervious. There's no way to hack it. And you'll have internet. You can have internet because internet is important. It is the tree of knowledge of today. And we must keep our internet rights open so we can communicate around the globe as intended when it was created in the first place, fashioned after the brain. Yep, yep. If you think about it, it's not that hard to think about. It's not going to be hard to do. You just gotta want and have the will to be able to do it and make it come true. Look at your children and your pets, or look at your loved ones or whatnot, or whatever. Look in the mirror and look at yourself if that's what it takes. Don't you want a better world? A better world to survive in, a better world to live in, a better world to create, a better world to keep. Let's turn our planet back into the garden it used to be and get rid of all this toxic waste and pollution, you see. You're destroying everybody and creating disease. And this is the problem with it all, you see. And it wouldn't be this way if you'd listen to me. Atlantis was a beautiful place, and we can make it a beautiful place again. Eden was a beautiful garden, and we can make it a beautiful garden again. But first we must get rid of these monsters that are destroying it with their toxic greed. And let's go back to clean, green energy. As I've told you before, even the Egyptians and the Romans had technology beyond your own belief. But everything has been twisted and lies. This is why when other armies invade other countries and invade other villages and towns and whatnot, they burn your knowledge, your books, your scrolls. They destroy everything that you are. They destroy your beliefs. They drag people out into the front, to the middle of the towns and villages, and they burn them at the stake so all their friends that grew up with them all their life can watch them burn and scream and yell because they were in league with the devil, because they had a different religion than the one these masters forced upon them. And of course, as I told you before, when you're watching your friends being fried crispy at the stake on a Saturday, It's a really good way to motivate you into changing your beliefs. When you see people being hung or have boards piled and rocks on them and piled on them until their eyeballs pop out and their guts spill out, or drowned, or drug around by the neck, or split in half, or their heads decapitated with a guillotine or a sword or an axe or whatever horrible torture, disfigurement that you could that you can force upon another being to twist the minds of others that have to witness and see what's happening. It's monstrous. And these are not the people that are good people. They do not represent any gods or goddesses. They do not represent creation. They do not represent good. They are the evil. They steal your land in forms of taxes. They steal everything you own. You work for nothing because you're a slave. You need to realize that you are a slave because you got to rise and become free. And if you follow me, you will be free. Of course, we need order and we need structure. That is without question, and that is in my design. But we don't need all of these bullshit laws to fill the pockets of corrupted politicians and huge corporations and mega churches and banking institutions and whatnot. This is not what it was meant to be. So basically, like I've said before, in my plan, like many other places and factories and other businesses and corporations around the world, they give their employees the following in their packages. You have medical plans, you have life insurance, you have 401ks or IRAs and CDs, profit sharing. You get a wage, you get a retirement plan with all that other stuff all packed in there. Someone will provide you with a company vehicle, all expenses paid with a gas card, and some provide you with a company housing, so you got a house or apartment to live in, and they pay for your basic bills, your phone, your cell phone. It's a company phone, a company cell phone, so they can get a hold of you. They pay for your electric, they pay for your heat, they give you a weekly allowance and whatnot, and it's all the same thing. It's the same thing my PAN plan is. It's just on a global scale, and it's for everybody and not just these richy, fancy people. They don't need gold toilets. We could all have silver toilets. They don't need a gold toilet. We don't need silver toilets either. That's just a joke. But they can have a regular toilet just like anybody else. You don't need no gold toilet. I don't want them sitting on my gold. Uh, what the hell? That's all created in the sun. That's not. They put a value on it. I don't care. You can say what you want. It doesn't matter. The only thing that's worth anything is life, no matter what form or shape that it is in. It's life. And anybody that destroys life in any shape or form is committing a sin against the creator or creators or the creators or whatever label you want to put on it that created them lives to begin with, that created the planets, that created the moons, that created everything in one form or another in every religion throughout time. Yes, it's time to wake up. It's time to see. It's time to become intelligent and rise above the ashes of this death and destruction and blow off all the decay and rebuild on a new, strong global foundation to create a new civilization for all to prosper upon. I love you all. I don't care if you love me, but at least love each other. That's all I asked. Quit killing your sister and your brother. Quit murdering the children. Quit slaughtering the animals. Quit destroying the sea life and the water and the air and the soil and the trees and the bushes and the flowers before the garden is completely gone. And when the garden is completely gone, all of you are going to be completely gone. Except for your government leaders, your masters. They have all these underground bases and all these underground cities built for themselves from your slave labor. And they're going to run down in there like it was a rabbit running down the rabbit hole. And you're going to be left looking through the looking glass at the end of your civilization. In a few hundred years or 1,000 years, they'll all pop back up again as before, as again, and as it'll always be until the end if you don't stand up and realize this is what's going on. And we have been here forever telling you this in books and talk shows and even stories and sayings and designs in time, like a clockmaker. The clues are everywhere, even on the walls. Some even got pictures that show it all, but yet you refuse to see what is in front of your own face, and you believe instead the lies that your masters portray. That it is just molten rock that decayed and fallen away in perfect shapes of helicopters and planes and submarines and whatnot. We have formations and creations and building blocks and lost civilizations all over the world and under the seas and the oceans and everywhere they can be, dating way past anything or any time that your religions portray. Your scientific proof of it all. This rock can't be 4.7 billion years old if the planet that it is formed into is only 6,000 years old. Do the math. You can't have dinosaurs and stuff and prehistoric and whatnot fossils being found that are millions and millions and billions of years old or whatnot, depending on the location and planet, and say that existence only happened for a few thousand years. Yes. They say the fallen angels came down and cut down all the huge giant trees that grew on the ground that you call these volcanic fossil tubes or whatnot, or rock formations that you climb. They're actually ancient plants. They grew 10 miles high in the sky, like I told you before, like the Jack and the Beanstalk and the giants you see lived in the giant tree. But the fallen angels came down and cut down all the big trees because they were trying to destroy the planet, you see. But yet, open your eyes and look around. Who's cutting down the trees now? You can blame anything you want on anybody, as I told you before. The leader of the fallen's name was Azazel, which translates into scapegoat. Get a clue. In some religions, they'll tell you that Jesus told the villagers to take upon a goat to Azazel in the forest and sacrifice it in his name for an offering. Why would Jesus be telling people to sacrifice animals in the name of Azazel? You must widen your education on all forms in religion, in medicine, in science, in mathematics, in physics, in astrology, in every educational form. It is upon you to learn, for no one can teach you unless you want to learn. And if you want to become all that you can be, you must learn as much as you can, you see. All has to choose for every being and every life and every creature that walks or slithers or crawls or flies or swims or flocks must choose what paths they take in life, and the paths that you choose determine the outcome at the end of the journey, for which every journey begins with the first step. All are all of it is up to you and what you do. I am merely just talking and sitting here and sharing my knowledge and my personal beliefs and my personal opinions. The end of the show is coming up, and I want to tell you I love you all. Be good to each other. Stop fighting. Stop these wars. Quit starving children. Quit murdering children. Quit throwing people in the cages. Throwing children in the cages. Treat everybody as you would want to be treated yourselves. Be good to each other, and we can be a better civilization in the end. Blessed be, blessed be. You will all be free. Blessed be.